Are you suffering? Are you in pain? Good. You are on a good path. Suffering is the only way to the top. Pain is the only way to change.
That's why I even try and tell people that just embrace the struggle, bro, because one day it's gonna be done. I look back on them times and actually somehow miss them still.
Accept the pain, smile at the pain, embrace the pain. Pain is the gatekeeper of destiny. Pain is there to ask you one simple question. Do you really want to achieve your goals, or are you just a talker?
I didn't know when I would be successful or if I would be successful. The only thing that I knew for sure was that I wasn't going to stop. The big gift of hardship is that it doesn't define you, it reveals you. The benefit is that you get to see who you really are, and you make that decision yourself every day.
I don't quit. I may not make it the first time, but I'll come back. I gotta get my head back in the game. I gotta figure this shit out. It doesn't mean you leave. It means you study it more.
I don't know about you, but in my book, in my opinion, I can't lose, because losing is something that is designed for people that quit and for people that fail. I don't fail, I learn.
Some people might say, yeah, but what's the point of this growing? What do you mean by growing? Why would I always need to accept every challenge just for the sake of growing? Because this growing is the opposite of something is decreasing, something is dying, something is closing up. To grow, to open up, is the same as to bring light into the things.
The work comes before the belief. No one believes in you. You may not even believe in you until you start the work. The work always comes first. The belief follows. Stop waiting for their belief. Start making them believe. Get to work.
To chase your dreams, whatever's in your heart, don't listen to the critics, don't listen to the outside noise. Really, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, you can make it happen. You really can. If you have hard work, dedication, you can move mountains. Things that seem impossible are possible if you really believe and work for it. Anything, no dream's too crazy.
Winning is for the obsessed. You must be obsessed if you want to win. You must be obsessed with the goal, the journey, the outcome, the experience, the rejections, all of it.
Here's the bottom line, motherfuckers. You gotta do the work. You gotta do it when you don't want to do it. You gotta do it when you're hurt. You gotta do it when you're tired. You gotta do it when you're sick. You gotta do it when you don't want to do anything else. And you gotta do it for years.
Every day I wake up, I'm one day closer to death. So what you gonna do with the time you got left?
Barrett! God, there's reasons to be resentful about your existence. Everyone you know is gonna die. And there's gonna be a fair bit of pain along the way, and lots of it's gonna be unfair. It's like, no wonder you're resentful. Act it out and see what happens. You make everything you're complaining about infinitely worse. So you think, well, what do you do about that? Well, you accept it. That's what life is like. It's suffering. Put yourself together. And then maybe if you put yourself together, you know how to do that. You know what's wrong with you, if you'll admit it. You know there's a few things you could polish up a little bit, that you might even be able to manage in your insufficient present condition. And so you might shine yourself up a little bit, and then your eyes will be a little more open, and then you can shine yourself up a little bit more, and then it takes responsibility. And I think, if you said to someone, you want to have a meaningful life? Everything you do matters. That's the definition of a meaningful life. But everything you do matters. So you're gonna have to carry that with you. Or do you want to just forget about the whole meaning thing, and then you don't have any responsibility, because who the hell cares? And you can wander through life doing whatever you want, gratifying impulsive desires for how useful that's going to be. And you're stuck in meaninglessness, but you don't have any responsibility. Which one do you want? Well, ask yourself, which one are you pursuing? And you'll find very rapidly that it isn't the majority of your soul that's pursuing the whole meaning thing, because, well, look what you have to do that. You have to take on the fact that life is suffering. You have to put yourself together in the face of that.
If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor look too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can hear the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your light for broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at the beginning, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are done, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 40 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it.
Get yourself together. Transcend your suffering. See if you can be some kind of hero.
9 life lessons. You might find some of this stuff inspiring, you'll definitely find some of it boring, and you'll definitely forget all of it within a week. 1, you don't have to have a dream. Americans on talent shows always talk about their dreams. Fine, if you have something you've always wanted to do, dreamed of, like in your heart, go for it. After all, it's something to do with your time, chasing a dream. And if it's a big enough one, it'll take you most of your life to achieve. So by the time you get to it and are staring into the abyss of the meaninglessness of your achievement, you'll be almost dead, so it won't matter. I never really had one of these dreams, and so I advocate passionate dedication to the pursuit of short-term goals. Be micro-ambitious. Put your head down and work with pride on whatever is in front of you. You never know where you might end up. Just be aware the next worthy pursuit will probably appear in your periphery, which is why you should be careful of long-term dreams. If you focus too far in front of you, you won't see the shiny thing out the corner of your eye. 2, don't seek happiness. Happiness is like an orgasm. If you think about it too much, it goes away. Keep busy and aim to make someone else happy, and you might find you get some as a side effect. We didn't evolve to be constantly content. Contented Homo erectus got eaten before passing on their genes. 3, remember, it's all luck. You are lucky to be here. You are incalculably lucky to be born, and incredibly lucky to be brought up by a nice family that helped you get educated and encouraged you to go to uni. Or if you were born into a horrible family, that's unlucky and you have my sympathy, but you are still lucky. You happen to be made of the sort of DNA that went on to make the sort of brain which, when placed in a horrible childhood environment, would make decisions that meant you ended up eventually graduating uni. Well done you for dragging yourself up by your shoelaces, but you were lucky. You didn't create the bit of you that dragged you up. They're not even your shoelaces. I suppose I worked hard to achieve whatever dubious achievements I've achieved, but I didn't make the bit of me that works hard. Understanding that you can't truly take credit for your successes, nor truly blame others for their failures, will humble you and make you more compassionate. Empathy is intuitive, but is also something you can work on intellectually. 4, exercise. Play a sport, do yoga, pump iron, run, whatever, but take care of your body. You're going to need it. Most of you mob are going to live to nearly 100, and even the poorest of you will achieve a level of wealth that most humans throughout history could not have dreamed of. And this long, luxurious life ahead of you is going to make you depressed. But don't despair. There is an inverse correlation between depression and exercise. Do it. Run, my beautiful intellectuals, run. 5, be hard on your opinions. We must think critically and not just about the ideas of others. Be hard on your beliefs. Take them out onto the veranda and hit them with a cricket bat. Be intellectually rigorous. Identify your biases, your prejudices, your privileges. Most of society's arguments are kept alive by a failure to acknowledge nuance. We tend to generate false dichotomies and then try to argue one point using two entirely different sets of assumptions, like two tennis players trying to win a match by hitting beautifully executed shots from either end of separate tennis courts. By the way, please don't make the mistake of thinking the arts and sciences are at odds with one another. That is a recent, stupid, and damaging idea. You don't have to be unscientific to make beautiful art, to write beautiful things. If you need proof, Twain, Douglas Adams, Vonnegut, McEwen, Sagan, Shakespeare, Dickens for a start. You don't need to be superstitious to be a poet. You don't need to hate GM technology to care about the beauty of the planet. You don't have to claim a soul to promote compassion. Science is not a body of knowledge nor a belief system. It is just a term which describes humankind's incremental acquisition of understanding through observation. Science is awesome. The arts and sciences need to work together to improve how knowledge is communicated. 6, be a teacher. Please, please, please be a teacher. Teachers are the most admirable and important people in the world. You don't have to do it forever, but if you're in doubt about what to do, be an amazing teacher. Even if you're not a teacher, be a teacher. Share your ideas. Don't take for granted your education. Rejoice in what you learn and spray it. 7, define yourself by what you love. I found myself doing this thing a bit recently where if someone asks me what sort of music I like, I say, well, I don't listen to the radio because pop song lyrics annoy me. Or if someone asks me what food I like, I say, I think truffle oil is overused and slightly obnoxious. And I see it all the time online, people whose idea of being part of a subculture is to hate Coldplay or football or feminists or the Liberal Party. We have a tendency to define ourselves in opposition to stuff. As a comedian, I make my living out of it. But try to also express your passion for things you love. Be demonstrative and generous in your praise of those you admire. Send thank you cards and give standing ovations. Be pro stuff, not just anti stuff. 8, respect people with less power than you. I don't care if you're the most powerful cat in the room. I will judge you on how you treat the least powerful. 9, finally, don't rush. You don't need to already know what you're going to do with the rest of your life. I'm not saying sit around smoking cones all day, but also don't panic. Most people I know who were sure of their career path at 20 are having midlife crises now. I said at the beginning of this ramble that life is meaningless. It was not a flippant assertion. I think it's absurd, the idea of seeking meaning in the set of circumstances that happens to exist after 13.8 billion years worth of unguided events. Leave it to humans to think the universe has a purpose for them. However, I am no nihilist. I'm not even a cynic. I am actually rather romantic. And here's my idea of romance. You will soon be dead. Life will sometimes seem long and tough, and God, it's tiring. And you will sometimes be happy and sometimes sad, and then you'll be old, and you'll be dead. There is only one sensible thing to do with this empty existence, and that is fill it. Fill it. And in my opinion, until I change it, life is best filled by learning as much as you can about as much as you can, taking pride in whatever you're doing, having compassion, sharing ideas, running, being enthusiastic. And then there's love and travel and wine and sex and art and kids and giving and mountain climbing, but you know all that stuff already. It's an incredibly exciting thing, this one meaningless life of yours.
About 2 years ago, we were having a conversation and he said, you teach the secret to life is peak state versus lousy state, or being energy rich versus energy poor, that a relationship, you can love somebody, but if the energy's low, not gonna show up, the energy's high. Well, he said, what if you swap those words and you swap peak state for a beautiful state? I said, that works. A high energy state is a beautiful state. Any state where your high energy would be like love or joy or gratitude or drive or courage or faith or playfulness or fun, any of those things are beautiful states. So he goes, yeah, I agree. And I said, and then suffering states would be low energy states. So that would be frustration, sadness, anger, resentment, loneliness, boredom, whatever.
He goes, yeah, that's exactly right. So I can swap those. He goes, if you swap them, there's something cool that you might see or do. I said, what's that, Christian? And he said, well, he said, I've made a decision that I'm gonna live my life where I'm gonna live in a beautiful state every day, no matter what, even if it rains on my parade, even if people do things that are unjust. He said, the reason is because in a beautiful state, just like you teach peak state, everything flows. And I said, well, that's pretty much what I've been teaching. He goes, yes, but if you think of the lousy states as suffering states, he said, then you can end suffering just by ending the state. But I realized I didn't relate to suffering. Like if you had told me 2 years ago, Tony, do you suffer? I'd say, are you kidding me? I got the greatest life. I have the most incredible wife and 4 kids, and I got 31 companies, and I'm financially free, and I have a mission I love, and I'm in good health. And that would all be honest. I wouldn't have been dishonest about it. But what really helped me out of that conversation, I left it and I went, well, where do I suffer? And I realized frustration is suffering. You know, I get frustrated. You know, I get concerned. I get pissed off. I get, you know, worried sometimes. I get these feelings. And so what I decided to do was, you know, just really create a 90-second rule for myself where I would end suffering as it arises. Because anybody tells you you're gonna end suffering is full of crap. The reason is your brain is a 2 million-year-old brain. It's not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you survive. But there's no saber-toothed tiger for you to react to anymore. So now we worry about what are people thinking of us? Do I have enough money? Over the last 2 years, what I've done is play this little 90-second rule. And if I feel tension in me, I go, okay, that's suffering. Where's it coming from? What am I stressed about? What am I concerned about? And what I immediately do is I realize the stressful thoughts. Since I've seen Christian G, I kind of traded one thing. What I really do now is I dig in and I notice that the only time you have stress or suffer is when you believe a stressful thought. Because what are the chances of everybody doing exactly what you think they should do the right way every day? 0. What are the chances of the people you love doing what you want them to do the way you want to do them every day? 0. What are the chances of you doing the right thing every day, even if you're talented and disciplined? 0. So your happiness will never last as long as it's got expectation behind it. What I did was I began to realize I made the decision, it's the most important decision I believe of your life, that I'm not gonna suffer anymore. Life's too short to suffer, and I'm gonna live in a beautiful state every day. And the way I do it is, I catch myself when I start to get that sense of stress, I let it go, and I see the idea go by. So your thoughts about this person messing up your business or not following through. If I was in a room with 10,000 people, I guarantee you 60, 70% of the business owners have the same thoughts at times, right? I ask people all the time, tell me your most stressful thought. Oh, I'm worried about my children, this may happen. How many people have had that thought? Everybody. I might not make it financially, blah, blah, blah. How many have had that? Everybody. My point is, it's not your thought. It's the mind, not your mind. When you think it's your mind, you identify with it, and you can't separate from yourself, man. But when you realize, these thoughts have been around for millions of years, and I'm just thinking the same thought that so many people thought before. Like, how many people have ever thought, I'm gonna kill this son of a bitch? Now, you didn't do it, but you didn't believe you're really gonna kill them. But you felt it, you said it, you were there, right? So we all have thoughts. It's only the stressful thoughts we believe that mess us up. So what I try to show people is, if you can start to realize these thoughts have been around for millions of years. If I told you 100 years ago that we're gonna go to the moon and back, you called me a lunatic or crazy. If I said 100 years ago, you're gonna have a little box like this, it'll fit in your pocket, and you can click on it and you can see what the weather is any place. You could click on it and see a live person on the other side of the earth and talk to them by looking at this box. And the way it works is invisible waves are traveling around the earth, and it pulls invisible waves in the box. You go like, read between the lines. There's no way, you dumb idiot, it never happened. So what I want you to realize is thoughts are invisible waves. You turn on TV, it takes invisible waves, and depending on the channel, you're gonna see a love story, or an adventure, or a drama, or a comedy, or a horror. The way you use your body determines which of those thought waves come through you. One moment you're pissed off, the next moment somebody makes you laugh, you change your body, you change the channel, you change what comes through you. So what I've tried to do in this Airy Beautiful State is simple. First, identify where you're suffering. What's your favorite flavor? Are you a worrier? Are you a pissed off person?
Stressed, angry.
What is it you do? Second of all, decide you're gonna kill that monster while it's little. You're not gonna wait till it's Godzilla taking the city. You're gonna break the pattern. You start to feel the stress. You see it as thoughts going by, and then you focus on something you appreciate, enjoy, or love. Appreciation, love, and joy destroy suffering. You can't be grateful and angry simultaneously. It's possible. You can't be worried fearful and grateful simultaneously. So I tell people gratitude is one of the emotions to cultivate that'll destroy the suffering.
Don't really know who we are, and I want people to admit that when they look at their books. The truth of it is that we really don't know who we are. We have many different selves. There isn't never one self. This is a concept that's very deeply ingrained in Buddhism that's greatly influenced me. Our self is constantly in fluctuation. We're not the same person we were as a child. In the course of a day, we have different moods. We have one self when we're with a lover. We have another self when we're with a boss, as I alluded to earlier. So to think that there's one consistent, stable self is an illusion. And neuroscientists have pointed this out. The brain tries to create for us this sense that we have a stable, consistent world so that we don't constantly freaking out about the actual chaos of life. So we even simplify ourselves into this idea that we have this one consistent, authentic self. Your authentic self is actually coming to terms with this chaos and accepting it and not trying to imagine that you're some consistent, great, do-gooder, moralizing person. And the other thing is you have a dark side. You have dark desires. You have aggressive impulses. You have anger. You have things that I call it the shadow. That's not me, it's a concept from psychology. You have a shadow side to yourself. Well, that's also part of being authentic, and you've tended to repress it. So embracing the many different sides of who you are, including embracing the fact that you're not nearly as good or moral as you think you are, actually would add up to being more authentic. To ground yourself in reality, you would first have to ground yourself in yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to detach yourself from social media, from all the other influences that people are giving you. So when you don't know yourself, when you're not in touch with your own tastes and desires, your own impulses, what makes you different, what makes you unique, you are alienated from the one basic reality, who you are. And it creates, I think, a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, because we all have a deep need to sort of express our personal opinions, our personal tastes, to find some outlet in some career, to give expression to what makes us different from others. And so if you're constantly listening to what other people are saying, if you're plugged in to the matrix continually, and that's your only reality, then really what you're doing is you're never understanding who you are. What you see when you look in the mirror is a reflection of all the other opinions that other people have. Opinions of you, opinions of politics, opinions of what's politically correct, of what's good and what's bad. You become a reflection of other people. And being alienated from yourself is a deeply, deeply depressing experience. It can lead to taking drugs, to stimulants, to all kinds of addictions. So we can say certain basic things about yourself. You were born very different from other people. Your brain is wired in a very unique way. Your DNA is unique. You are going to die someday. You're mortal. You have to fend for yourself in this world. People aren't going to give you things. This is sort of a basic kind of ground for your feet to stand upon. And understanding that is sort of understanding reality. And a lot of people are fleeing from that, because living in that kind of matrix world of social media and all the fantasies, you don't really have to confront yourself. You don't have to deal with your own demons, with your own weaknesses, with your own flaws, but you pay a terrible price. But I think the principal source of the problem is that people are running away from themselves. And on social media, that process is greatly accelerated.
I'm in Inglewood, living off Arborvitae. I'm on government assistance, and I run out of money, and I had to buy Pampers for Jelani. And I had $11.42 in the bank. And I remember wrapping my son in a towel for 2 days. I remember the second day, like you said, I had my hand on Jelani's stomach and I said, don't worry, baby. Mommy will never be this broke or broken again. I was willing to find people who had what I didn't have, who were living lives that I wasn't living, who believed things that I didn't know about, and I was willing to become their student. I got up every day and I ate a slice of humble pie. Your conviction, what you're passionate about, your conviction and your convenience don't live on the same block. So if you want to have a conviction for something, you have to sign up to be inconvenienced. The one thing we have to constantly remind ourselves is to create micro wins to get to our macro wins. That we go after the macro win, but we only look at the macro win. I want you to look at the micro wins and get 5 micro wins under your belt so you can create your macros. We want to be liked. Well, I woke up and I like myself today, so your like is extra. My job is to like me first. I was willing to say every day, Lisa, you like you? Lisa, are you proud of you? Lisa, are you playing full out? Every day before I checked in with anybody else. The prescription for radical success is action. The difference between you and the person living their dreams that you're watching is simply the amount of action. It's not the hookup, it's not the family they were born into, it's not the gender, it's not the culture. Those are all great stories that we get. But it really is the things they did and how much they were willing to do. The reason why a lot of people won't become who they want is because they're too attached to who they've been. See, another reason why people won't get in there is because the doorway is for you to fit through. You're trying to carry everybody else through because you're trying to be Rescue 911. And you gotta rescue you first. I am much more valuable to my family and to my community because I was willing to let them go. Go through the door myself, teach myself, learn myself, condition myself, and then come back and get them. Cognitive dissonance is the form of discomfort that you put yourself in when you think of yourself in such a way that doesn't match your current behavior. Your mind will be uncomfortable because it doesn't match. So your mind will begin to call you to do the thing to make your mental conversation match your behavior. But there's a calling on your life that you don't get to shake. And it's only yours. No one else has the same calling as you. You want to go somewhere you've never gone? You got to do something you've never done. You got to say something you've never said. You got to go to a place in you that you've never even been. You're not sentenced to this life this way. You chose it. If you wake up every day and say, I have nothing to protect, I have nothing to prove, I have nothing to hide, I have nothing to defend. Now, who do I choose to be? See, we're not supposed to tuck our dreams in on the pillow when we get up in the morning. We're not supposed to leave them at home. We're not supposed to do that. That's not what we're wired to do. That's not who we are. Your human spirit doesn't care about the economy. The human spirit doesn't care that my son's father went to prison. The human spirit doesn't care what's happened to your family. The human spirit doesn't care about the past. You may have been molested, or your family may have been broke, or you may have been betrayed, or you may have a divorce. Your human spirit doesn't care about any of that. Your human spirit simply says, what's our command for tomorrow? Comparison is and will always be the thief of all joy. And so when you begin to look at people, look at someone as a model of who you can be by taking a piece of who they are, adding it to the uniqueness of who you are. What do you need to do more of? Who do you need to be more of? What do you need to evict from your behavior? You're at the edge, watching someone else live, wondering what it's going to be like when you jump without ever jumping. And I'm just here to tell you, jump. Fear is an emotion like any other emotion. Fear is an emotion like love, like compassion. Fear is an emotion, we just gave it more power. Fear reminds you that you have not arrived at the top of the mountain, that you are still climbing with the rest of us. Fear no longer becomes your fortress. Fear becomes your fuel. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is your friend. So however you step, just step. However you step, just step. Sometimes you gotta step out of something before you're stepping into something. I'd rather you take 10 steps wrong than analyze trying to make one step right one more day while someone's waiting to be inspired by you. It's what I'm really afraid of, and what you're really afraid of, is getting to the end of your day, to the end of your life, and having something left to give.
Everyone is going to build their self-esteem around something. And being able to identify what you build your self-esteem around is critical. Once you identify what it is that you're proud of that makes you feel good about who you are, you need to ask yourself one very simple question. Does that move me towards my goals or not?
When I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of distress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me, and without any pain.
In a way, we're still all looking for our identity. You know, you might know that you're British, you might know that you're Haitian, but who am I, though? You know, amongst that, who am I beyond my social class?
Fundamental illusion is because we have been told that we need to become someone in order to feel worthy. We have to discover who it is we are, that this journey is to do more, become more, achieve more, perfect more. All of it is a lie. It's part of the capitalism. When you realize that we have been living in this bubble, it's a bubble. When you realize that this dimension is predicated on fear.
People who want their idea to be the right idea without regard for whether or not it moves everybody towards the stated goal, those are people who've built their self-esteem around the fragile desire to be right, to be smart, to be better, right? And it is super fragile, because as soon as you encounter somebody better, smarter, faster, stronger, instead of learning from them, being inspired by them, they're diminishing you because you're comparing yourself to them in a really ignorant way that doesn't move you towards your goal.
And a lot of times what you're really good at is right in front of you. What you're really great at is right in front of you. And to recognize that your calling and your purpose can change, that it can change. You have a long lifetime. It's not gonna be the same calling the whole time. And so allow yourself to evolve, allow your purpose to evolve. What's that thing you do effortlessly that you give no credit to?
The driving force behind that type of attitude, at least it was for me, was fear and anger. Anger that I want to prove myself. We're anger, we have something to prove. There's fear that you're not going to make it, that you're not going to be somebody, that you're not going to be able to take care of the people you love. And with that comes the arrogance, at least for me, came the arrogance of nothing's going to stop me, I can do anything.
Could it be as that the suffering that we go through, someone who cheats on us, or someone who steals from us, or a business failure, or a broken heart, or someone who is unkind to us, is in fact an element that our soul wanted us to experience, so we discover our gift that we are meant to bring to the world.
What would you be reading about, even in neutral? What would you be doing if you didn't need to do it? What's that thing you turn to for pleasure when you've got free time? That's the thing that you should be doing.
A lot of times, your gift and your purpose, you've discounted it, either because someone else discounted it, or what's more common is you don't know how to monetize it. And sometimes the greatest gift you have to give is not for fee, it's for free.
Because we are living under a cloud of the same delusion. Now, there's no harm in living under the cloud. The harm comes in thinking that that's the right way to be, and that's where the toxicity starts. When we give to our next generation our way to be, we can see how we've been set up to be anxious, to be a generation of great anxiety, because we have been set up on categorical duality. All of our life is predicated on labels, judgments, a way to be good and bad.
People are truly passionate about what they do, You just get a chemical rush. You get the energy. You become more resourceful. When someone who doesn't have passion, they don't really want to be there anyway, they will give up way easier because they're not having a good time. It's not in them. Don't try to change the world unless you seek change the way a man whose head is on fire seeks a pond.
When meaning is given to suffering, it ceases to become suffering. So I want you to pay attention to this idea. Very often when we find our values, the fascinating thing that happens is the pain that we once were attached to in the past disappears.
I say most people can see, but not everyone has vision. What that means to me is, if you have a desire to be successful, you better be just as in love with failure. Like, I love failing. I just wake up every day to see how many times I can fail. Yeah, I have no problem with it, because failure will introduce you to success. You got a lot of people who are afraid to fail. You know, some days we have to wake up and put out fires before we can even get to the brick.
Once you have perception about something, something happened, it definitely informs your view of the world. And now you are the director, not only of that story, but you are the director. You are the only one in control of how you want to maneuver that story. Your story sometimes has a lot of layers and depths to it. For some of you, some of those layers and emotions and emotional baggage is still there to process. That's yours to process.
And it's my job to give the world the best example of how I like to be treated. Celebrate yourself, forgive yourself, cut the shackles, and then commit to yourself before you commit to anyone else.
Money is less and less motivating the more and more you get of it. Missions, on the other hand, the closer and closer you get to making it real, the more momentum you have behind accomplishing your mission, the more energy you have, the more people you can attract to your mission. And it just keeps going, and it's a virtuous cycle.
Because life as we know it is life as we know it. So if life becomes life as we don't know it, there's great fear. So as long as we never pull, question, look under the rug, look behind the corners, look beneath the shadows, we will not awaken. To awaken means to look and see things as they really are, to see the source of how you believe has come to be. Dare to go behind and beyond the matrix.
I honestly believe that if people are not calling you crazy, your dream isn't big enough.
I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to protect. I have nothing to hide. And I have nothing to defend. That your perception of me, after I tell my truth, is actually none of my business. My perception of me, that I go to bed as whole and complete as I woke up. Before I check how many likes I have on Facebook, that I like me first, and every other like is bonus.
If you've got the guts to be you, somewhere deep inside that person, even if they showed you nothing but hate, they respect you so much because they're afraid to be themselves. But they want to be so desperately. So if you ever wonder why, the people who attack you most aggressively are the people who see in you something that they can't have.
So your pain is often the breadcrumbs to your values, and those values become the guiding light for your purpose on the planet. Because what often happens is that the pain gives us a glimpse of what we want to heal and fix in the world, so that other generations and other people we love do not have to experience that pain.
You have to have the truth to have a starting point. So when you, if I'm lying to you about who I am, or I'm lying to you about whatever, there's no starting point. There's a false reality. You have to create the real reality.
Well, it's ultimately the principle that, you want to be a little bit better in some way tomorrow than you are today, but it's not going to be in a linear path. Again, these go through cycles of stress and recovery. So it's just kind of being able to surf the flow of that and know again, it's really comes down to balance. So it's the practices, and you need to know what to do for sure. And then you need to know how to apply those things in the right way.
For some reason, school and society have this way of making you feel like there's only two ways in. You're either born into it or you wait your turn. But what I've learned is that there's always the third door. And at the entrance where you have to jump out of line, run down the alley, bang on the door 100 times, crack open the window, go through the kitchen, there's always a way in. And it doesn't matter if that's how Gates sold his first piece of software or how Spielberg became the youngest director in Hollywood history, they all took the third door.
But every time I failed, I always had an excuse. I always had a reason. You know, I was just blaming everyone else for why I wasn't succeeding in life. But after my third major failure, that's when I really stopped and realized I'm the common denominator here. I am the one person that is consistent in all three of these massive failures. And unless I'm gonna take that really serious to change the person that I am, then my outcome is never gonna change.
Once you come face to face with who you are, you have a starting point. All right, I'm not real smart. I have no courage. I have no self-esteem. I have no nothing. Nothing. That's my starting point. Now we can move from there. But if I tell myself I'm strong, I have courage, I'm smart, and all these are lies, you continuously push that starting point backwards. So that starting point is the truth.
You know, fear is a belief that something negative is going to happen rather than something positive is going to happen. So it's like, that's on the other side. You're almost believing in your failure, right? Rather than believing in your success. So you have to go attack and collapse these different fears. A lot of the fear comes because we're afraid that we're going to judge ourselves harshly or whatever. So you got to realize, like, there is no such thing as failure. There's just learning, right? So you collapse the penalty for failure. So that collapses the fear, which allows you to believe even more. So that's one way to do it. And the other way is to just look at fear itself and play out the different scenarios, know that you're going to be fine. Again, forgive yourself always. And really also just attack fear wherever you see it.
And the difference between fearlessness and courage is that fearlessness is jumping off of the cliff without thinking. Courage is acknowledging your fear, analyzing the consequences, and deciding you still care so much about it, you're going to take one step forward.
That's why people got to understand what is in us. We have no idea until we start trying hard. And I mean really trying hard, where you're obsessed with, hey, this is my new norm. My new norm is that, wow, this isn't always fun. It's not always meant to be fun. And that's when you know you're trying hard.
And if you believe there's something that's irrational that should control you, that will apply universally. So wherever you find fear specifically, collapse fear wherever you see it, and that specific collapse will help with the universal collapse of fear in general.
The key of taking that first step, it's not about trying to logically argue with those voices in our head. You will never win against the voices in your head if you try to argue with them. What I've learned is that if you, instead of focusing on the voices and the fears, you focus on the desires.
Every day, I try to wake up and work on like what excites me, what makes me feel like I'm having impact or I'm sort of fulfilling my potential in some way. So if I'm thinking about a foundational belief, it's that everyone has something that they can offer the world. And they've got to figure out what that thing is. And they've got to make a lot of very difficult decisions, usually saying no to things that puts them in the best position to fulfill whatever that potential is.
As human beings, we are meant to grow.
And when you stop growing, your soul and your heart and your spirit dies. But as you move through life, it is unavoidable to face things that are challenging, face disappointment, face things that are just absolutely heartbreaking. The ability to have self-awareness and to have the ability to pause before your emotions take over and take you down a negative spiral.
You just got to understand, the only thing that you're responsible for is your best. Like, you can't do better than your best. You just do your best. And if you try to obsess too much, you're not doing your best, you're going to be paralyzed, right? So you have to get as much information as you can, make the most educated choice, make sure that you're not choosing based on ego or emotion or, greed or these other forces that delude you and prevent you from thinking clearly. But if you do your best and you fail, like, what are you going to do? Beat yourself up for that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. If you're doing your best, if you're really laying it out there, there's nothing more you can do.
When you say, how do I make this happen? You're undoing all your work because you're operating from a place of fear. Because you're asking, how do I, little me, make it happen? And if I don't make it happen, it means it's not going to happen, which means I'm in a fear vibration. Instead, ask yourself, this is all done. I've locked it in, chosen the thermostat, I've done the work, I'm the millionaire version of me, I've cultivated my circle, I've got everything down. How can I now show up to participate in this process?
That's what we do. We go like, what's the meaning of life? As though someone's supposed to tell us. And he's saying, no, actually life is asking you that question. Existence asks you that question, and you answer it with your choices and decisions and the life. So your life is the answer, right?
Well, when you are in the face of so much uncertainty, which we all are right now, what you have to do is you have to win the battle that you can win, which is the battle with your own mind.
We all have two people. We have the easy voice, which is that 20% telling yourself that I'm easy at 90% of my full potential, maybe 100% at that 20%. That's that voice that we all love. Doesn't care how good you are, just loves you. Just loves you no matter how messed up you are in life. That's where you want to be at. So that's that one voice. This other voice that we walk very far away from is the voice saying, hey man, you ain't doing shit. So we try to get this voice out of our head completely. So what you have to do first is turn up this voice over here. The voice saying things to you that aren't nice. I'm not saying to put yourself down. I'm saying listen to the truth. And the truth isn't in the 20%. In this other 80% is suffering, pain, failure, self-doubt, darkness, and then a whole bunch of light.
Young people will always look up and reach for the highest branch they see as possible. Whether it's up to parents, whether it's up to schools. And what I've learned is that when you change what someone believes is possible, you change what becomes possible.
Pick up your damn suffering and bear it. And try to be a good person so you don't make it worse. Get yourself together. Transcend your suffering. See if you can be some kind of hero. Make the suffering in the world less.
Why pay the price? Why work this hard? Why go this far? Work on your list of whys. If the why is powerful, the how is easy.
To live a life in alignment. And what that means is that you live a life where what you think, what you say, and what you do are aligned with your truest self. And what I mean by your truest self is the self that was not given to you by your parents, or by your education, or by media or movies, or not the self that you've created to function in the world.
Each and every one of you, at some point in your life, you are going to hit rock bottom. The question isn't, will you hit rock bottom? The question is, what are you going to do with yourself when it happens? Many people start, but few endure. It's not interesting whether or not you guys have a dream. I don't care if you have a dream. I am so uninterested in empty dreamers, I can't see straight. What I care about, do you have the fortitude to fail? And what do you learn from that failure? Do you get back up? Do you keep going? Do you force yourself to recognize that this is a question of adaptation? You simply have not done to yourself what you need to do in order to be good enough to succeed.
Everyone feels at times that we're our biggest bully, because we will always have someone saying something negative, but it's when we walk away, do we believe it? Do we let those voices echo in our mind when no one's watching? And that's when I realized I'm either my biggest encourager or my biggest discourager, and that's where attitude comes in. You know, you have people in your life where they'll keep on beating you down, but if you keep on coming back up, they won't keep you down.
Really is that simple. Once you accept that the thing that separates you from the rest of the animal kingdom is an unimaginable ability to become. You have an unimaginable ability to become something. This is going to be in service of something that I can believe in. This is going to be something that makes me feel alive. This is going to be something that I'm passionate about. It's going to be something that I actually feel like I'm contributing to the world, that I would be willing to do all of that with a smile on my face. And I said, the only question I will ever ask again is this: what would I do and love every day, even if I was failing?
It's passion plus strength plus compassion equals purpose. Purpose is like an adult, passion is like a teenager, interest is like a child, and curiosity is the womb. So the birthplace of passion is actually curiosity. And I think we waste so much time trying to be like, what am I really passionate about? What do I really believe in? But the thing you can start with right now is the simplest form of, what am I curious about?
People who can unchain themselves of the past are the most happiest. And those people who actually intentionally practice an attitude of gratitude, that we must understand the crux of every cloud or funk or curveball or depression or whatever you want to call it. It comes back to, who am I and why am I here? Your value is not determined on your past. Your future is up to you today. You loving yourself, embracing yourself, not judging yourself, being able to forgive. It's not to say that everything's possible. It's not to say that everything's smooth. No, we all go through ups and downs. But I needed to get out of my own way to reach my full potential.
I think the two things that we're all working towards is a sense of peace and a sense of purpose. Peace is for yourself and purpose is for the world. And I think we all exist in both places. And I think where we go wrong is that we try to live life in an either or. Actually embracing polarities. It's actually about doing a dance and knowing which way to go at the right time. So I believe as much in strategy as I do in sincerity. And I believe in much as generosity as I do in generating value for myself. And I believe as much in giving as I do in growing. And I think as soon as you start to say, no, it's either or, you have to choose, I think that's where we start to lose a part of ourselves.
Because loneliness is not about a lack of company. It is the inner sense of disconnection with everything around you. You are disconnected with everything around you because you are engrossed with yourself. Suffering exists only when you're obsessing about yourself. If there's no obsession within oneself, then there's no suffering.
I really believe that you have to seek the love and the beauty that you want in what you have now. Because that way you're training yourself to extract meaning right now.
Your life's challenges, the rejections, the failures, it is sitting on you. It is sitting on you. You feel uncomfortable in your own skin. You do not have a vision for the future. You do not have a purpose for your life. Towards success, towards having a beautiful relationship, towards creating abundance in your life or prosperity is move into connection. And what is stopping you from connection is your habit of constantly being preoccupied with your past.
The most important thing is your mind. Make no mistake about that. Right now, the only thing that is holding you back, I promise you, and whatever excuse you're telling yourself, it's shit. The only thing that's holding you back is the way that you think about yourself and the world. That's it. Flat. You have not built the mechanisms in your mind that you need to free yourself from the matrix. Do and believe that which moves you towards your goals.
Being the most connected generation in the history of mankind has its upsides, but it also comes with real invisible problems. And we've grown up aspiring to be our idols. And that's dangerous. I mean, aspiring to achieve great things is fine, but aspiring to be our idols is dangerous. It's dangerous to want to be someone you're not. It's also not possible, but it's dangerous. And social media has glamorized the lives of a few, and we get to see their nice cars and their holidays and their wonderful lifestyle, and we want that. We don't see the years and years of hustle, the pain, the sacrifice, the natural talent they had, the innate passion for their craft, the incredible details Steve Jobs saw the world in, or the unbelievable hardship that Richard Branson went through to get there. We don't see that. We just see the destination and we want that. But most of us don't have and aren't willing to give what it takes to fulfill that journey because it's not our journey, it's theirs. You're not passionate about typography or art or design, but you want to be Steve Jobs. You're not Steve Jobs, you're you. We are the generation that has confused admiration with aspiration, and we'll never find our own happiness until we accept that we can't have anyone else's life but our own. And if we realize this and focus on our own, then our life would be more than enough. You know, young men want to be Mark Zuckerberg because they admire him. But the crazy irony is we admire him because his life was unlike others. He didn't try to be like others. So if you want to be Mark Zuckerberg, it's time to stop trying to be Mark Zuckerberg because you'll never achieve your personal greatness. Our idols did not follow in the footsteps of their heroes. There was no Bill Gates for Bill Gates to emulate. He had to carve out his own path to find his own greatness. Each of our idols have uniqueness as their power. They had the conviction to disagree, the confidence to persevere, and the braveness to go against the status quo instead of embracing it. You know, we celebrate their individuality and their lack of conformity and the audacity of their strong beliefs that black was equal to white, or their vision for a pocket computer, or a more connected world, or a driverless car, or a personal spaceship that could go to Mars. These ideas could only come from people who did not follow in the footsteps of others. So my advice to my generation is don't aspire to be your hero. Stop trying to mimic what you see them doing. Strive to be yourself. Visionaries are not to be imitated, they are to be admired. Trying to be someone else is a surefire way of becoming nobody at all. The only great person you can become is the greatest version of yourself, because all the other great people are already taken. And the funny thing is, once you become the greatest version of yourself, people will see your life and they'll make the mistake of trying to be you too.
There's a recent phenomenon that's not being talked enough about in our culture, and specifically in our world, which is what failure is doing in our space. And, you know, we're sweeping under the rug a couple of the suicides in our space. We're sweeping under the rug the heavy depression and alcohol use. We're sweeping things under the rug. We want to show all the hoopla. I hate what's going on Instagram right now. Everybody living their fake life, putting up pictures of like baby giraffes or like hot chicks and $50,000 cash on a bed and a boat, and painting a lifestyle that is not realistic. I want to have this conversation because there is a level of talent here, and what we need to all be doing is figuring out what we're best at and going all in on that.
Defining your goals, defining
what the life you're trying to build is and having a real model for what you're doing. And for me, I tried to be very clear about what I'm trying to accomplish to myself. If you're doing this thing because it means something to you and you know exactly what success looks like for you, it's nice because then you're not as distracted by the fact that so-and-so is posting photos of them surrounded by $100 bills on Instagram or on a yacht and a visa or whatever. You want to make sure that you're not comparing yourself to other people. You want to compare yourself against the progress you've made because, like, look, some people are freaks. You know what I mean? Like, some people are just way better than you, and they're always going to be better than you, and they're not going to have to work as hard as you. So it's like, if you're comparing yourself to them or just mimicking them, that's not the right approach.
Everyone has their demons. It doesn't matter if they're like the richest person or the most successful, or the most good looking. There's some battle I feel like we're always facing. It's hard to just be like, I've got it all figured out in all areas of my life.
The people who you feel like have it most figured out are probably struggling the deepest. Thou knowest the man, thou knowest not his wrestling. Because you don't know what each person is wrestling with inside. You don't know if that beautiful celebrity is wrestling with an eating disorder. You don't know if that guy who seems like he has a happy family is miserable and cheats on his wife. You don't know if that person who sold millions of albums feels like a failure because their parents never told them they loved them. You know, you don't know what people are struggling with, and it's like, you can't compare yourself to them because you don't know what it costs. That the world is indifferent to you and I, right? Like, the world is not only indifferent to like our personal goals, like the world doesn't even care about the human race, right? Like, we could all be wiped out by like a volcano tomorrow, right? So it's that we are a very small piece of like a complex universe, and the result is that things don't go the way we want them to go. So I think those are the external obstacles. Then we put on top of that struggles with addiction, or struggles with self-worth, or struggles with other people. You know, we add to that things that make an extraordinarily difficult thing like even more difficult. Yeah. And we don't even know it.